Hello? Hello and welcome to Fukafest, no, Go to Dance live stream. And today Alejandro is going to talk about 7 bullshit marketing opinions you should ignore. So I hope you enjoy and good luck.
Tack så mycket, Sofia. That's actually funny that you laugh about bullshit because we have a lot of bullshit over here. We have a lot of bullshit when we are talking about marketing and we are talking about communication in regular basis. But let's get started with something general about me. At first is, who am I? Jag heter Alejandro. Jag kommer från Colombia och är kommunikationskonsult och berättare. Och jag... that's all the Swedish I know, but I'm learning. For those who are listening, I'm learning. So, let's say 3 things about me. As I was telling, I'm from Colombia. That makes me kind of different in my communication on what we are used to here in Sweden. The second, one of the most important actually, is that I love stories. Actually, I really cherish them, kind of obsessed with that, because I believe in the power of communication. I believe in the power of being in the capability of communicate an idea and use communication as a tool. That's quite important in this era, in this time of the life, and that's why we are talking about communication today. But also, I help people to find their stories. That's what I do here. That's what I do for a living. But in general, I help people to find their tellings because people usually have the answers, but they don't know how to find them. So, let's start with the first bullshit idea we have here in communication and in marketing. And it's actually a quite common one. And it's that digital marketing is different of communication. And let me tell you that that's a bunch of malarkey, as the President of the United States will say. Because one of the most important things we need to know is that communication and marketing are, if not the same thing, they are twin brothers and sisters. They are so joined together that we cannot ignore one or either of those types of communication. And let's see this with an example. Let's talk about Patagonia. This brand is actually a really well-known brand of clothing for the wildness, and they have something that we need to know when we are communicating and when we are doing digital marketing. They have a strong value. When you have a strong value and you have defined it, you can share it and connect with people. It's the example of Patagonia that they, for instance, have joined a really huge community of followers, and we can talk about communities and not just followers because a community shares the value they are sharing. Patagonia, it's all about caring and really showing how they care about the planet. Actually, they care in so many different ways. They are talking about environment, they are talking about communication, they are talking about responsible communication even. Because, for instance, this post that we can see here, and we can share it later, it's one post that it's aligned to their campaign or not advertising on Facebook. They have decided long time ago to stop advertisement in a platform that is showing and sharing fake news. So that's aligned to their value. They believe in responsible communication, and they actually, a lot of brands, almost every brand is advertising in Facebook. And we know that if you want to get a lot of customers, you can do that, and it's easy. Even sometimes it's cheaper than communicating in the long way. But Patagonia took the hard way because it's aligned to their values. That's one of the most important things that we need to know And this is one of the most important lessons from today. Be true to your values. Identify them, but be true to them. And through that, they have building a community of almost 600,000 people. That's not a little thing. They have done it with a lot of effort, a lot of patience, but they have done it. Everybody of us can do it. Because one thing that we need to have into account and we need to realize is that it's all about caring. It's all about connecting. You need to build a bridge between your message, your core message, and the brain of the people that is out there. And it applies for people, it applies for businesses, it applies for B2C, it applies for B2B. It applies for everything because at the end, we are all people behind the companies. We are people that are building the business. So we need to convince them, but more about to convince them is to compel to them. We need them to share our value. So we need to go to the heart before going to the brain. People doesn't buy from the brain. People buys from the heart, from emotions, because people are emotions, not only data and numbers. Yeah, data is important. We are going to go there. But for the first point of this talk, just realize the importance of the emotion that you are developing in communication and digital marketing. Let's go to the second one. That's one of the most that I like. You only need one big shot. And that's Huisnacht, you will say. Because strategy and campaign are different. But we are used to be sold with campaigns dressed as strategies. Strategy and campaign, the most important difference is that strategy is a long-term plan. A campaign is just one shot. A campaign has an objective. A campaign has only one shot to be done. You have you have a good target, you have a good audience, you have maybe some numbers that you have figured out. But with a strategy, you go to the long term. You're stronger in your value as a brand. Let's see an example. I love this brand. I don't know if you know him, Ryan Reynolds. He's a Canadian actor that has become quite a hit in the last couple of months. Actually, he was really good at acting, but it is better at communicating and doing marketing. So one of his brands, he is the owner actually of the brand Mint Mobile in the United States and Canada. He made the brand a part of himself. He made the brand to represent his own value. Let's see this video. This was a campaign run when Mint Mobile wanted to share what value they were selling. So let's find this.
If you've ever wondered how Mint Mobile can be any good for just $15 a month, consider that we don't spend millions of dollars naming stadiums. We don't spend millions of dollars on retail stores or sexy yet practical employee uniforms. And instead of paying a celebrity millions of dollars to endorse our brand, we convinced one to pay us. That last one hits close to home. But the point is, we only spend on network technology that's second to none, and that's why we can afford to give you more for less. Some people think we're not savvy business people. But my brother, and the horse he rode in on. Seriously, he rides a horse.
That's Mint Mobile. And you know, every single company of mobile telephone will tell you that they love cheapness, that they have the best prices for you. Every single one will run campaigns telling you that they are gonna get you the perfect deal. But this is one of the only brands that are actually leaving their value or cutting prices or cutting expenses to make the prices low. And they are communicating it because that's another thing. It's not only doing it, you need to communicate it. You need to say it, and you need to say it in your own terms, aligned to your own essence. And that is the essence of Mint Mobile. Because at the end, people will gonna remember the brand, not only the features of the plan they are buying, not only the campaign that is running. That's where the big companies are missing the point, because they are trying to adapt their communication to an existing value, and they're trying to appropriate that value. They don't live it. They don't have it in the core of their brands. That's the difference when you are building a brand. When people are building either a personal or a business brand, they start aligning a value, and before aligning a value, they start sharing it and communicating it. Let's go with another point, with another bullshit point, actually, that is important. But this one, it's a sum up of we were telling. Strategy is like a marathon. A campaign is like running a 100 meters race. In the 100 meters race, you just need to make a little effort. You know you are going to get there, and it's going to end really fast. On strategy, it's not going to end fast. On a strategy, you're going to take some time. You are going to take some effort. And you are going to need to be aware of your resources. You are going to be aware of yourself. And you are going to be aware of the environment to play with it. That's the difference. And in both, you're running. But in one, you're running maybe alone. The other one, you're running with others. And you are going to play with that. You need to use that in order to get your strategy and your marathon in a good way, in a successful way. Then we have another bullshit idea, and it's just do it without even thinking about it. Nike brand sold us that slogan, just do it. Yeah, just do it, but think about it. And that's bullshit. Because if you just do it, then you don't know why are you doing it. You are not being aware of what you have and what you are doing. And that's what, when we get something that a lot of brands and a lot of people get, and it's the backfire effect. The backfire effect, you maybe have seen that. It's when brands try to do something that they think that it's so cool that it explodes in their hands, it explodes in their faces. That's the example of two well-known brands. This one, it's Protein World, is a British brand, and that one is HSBC. It's a well-known worldwide bank. They had the backfire effect because they just did it. They didn't talk about it. They didn't think about it. Protein World ran an ad in the London subway, telling people if they were beach body ready. That was a total body shaming. That was a total and unsuccessful campaign. Their ad were totally shamed. People were outrageous about that ad because they were not thinking about their audiences. They were not thinking about where they were running the campaign, and they weren't responsible about their communication. They were making it inclusive. So they run this in a place with million people passing every day, many totally different people passing every day. Of course, they were going to be backfired, but they were not thinking about it. They were just thinking where I can get them more rich, and that's a mistake. Then we go to HSBC. The case is a little bit different, but it's not thinking also about your audiences. They have a really cool selling line that is assume nothing, but they didn't were thinking that they are worldwide, and where some places did the translation of their selling line, they got this, HSBC, do nothing. That's kind of embarrassing for a big company with big budget on advertisement. They didn't even care. That mistake cost to them $10 million, and they weren't thinking about it. They just did it. So the important thing on this point is take your time, plan, have a strategy. Yeah, time is against us. Time needs to be measured, but it doesn't need to be an obstacle. Time needs to be just taken care of. But you need to think on your strategy. You need to align your strategy to that. Not make everything around the time. You don't need to run, because there is when you start losing some money, you start losing some resources that are valuable and so important. For instance, if you're an entrepreneur or a startup, you need to think about it. Let's go with another one. You might have heard about this one, and it's that your product must steal the show. Your product is the most important thing. That's bull cookies. Because your product isn't anything but a part of yourself, a part of who you are. The product, the service, or even if you are a person, that part of your life that is going, for instance, to a job interview, is not a pose, it's not an act, it's just a part of who you are. And if you are not aware of who you are, of the value that you're sharing, the emotion that you want to get from the people you are either interviewing, selling, or communicating, you are just going to miss the point and you are going to seem posed. If you make that difference between your product and your person, you are losing one of the most important things that you have as marketers, and it's your own abilities, your own capabilities, and your own values, because you are stronger than your product. Yeah, again, Mint Mobile. But we have another example. Then again, Ryan Reynolds take really serious on communication with this brand. And one of the examples is when he became the manager of the brand. He became not only the manager, but the owner of the brand. So let's see how he announced that.
Hey there, it's Ryan Reynolds, new owner of Mint Mobile. A few weeks ago, we were in the middle of shooting an epic first commercial. Let's take a look.
Introducing.
That's as far as we got before. So instead of using the magic of film, I'm going to use the magic of slides. Let's go to screen share. Okay. Nope, that's not it. Here we go. Mint Mobile is premium wireless service that you can get for just $15 a month. That's the Mint Fox. Still not sure about him. That's right, you can save hundreds of dollars a year, according to math. I know, it's hard to believe, but so are the plots of like 60% of my films. Pretty sure this guy would approve. And because he's public domain, we can say that without any fear of legal action. Every presentation needs next steps. Here are mine. The next slide is a thank you slide with a mint field background. There are actually like 45 more. And here's a puppy. I just thought she was cute. Let's see what else we got here.
You are a total.
Nope.
I am so
That's the stuff.
proud of you.
Hey, Mummy. I wonder how she's doing. Right, Mother's Day.
As you can see, he doesn't talk at all about the products he's selling. You don't need to know that Mint Mobile is selling $15 plans, but they say it in the video. He needs to make brand awareness. He needs to make it cool. He needs to make awareness of he's not expending a lot of money on filming. And he's really making a statement that his brother doesn't believe in him. We all have been there. And that's an important motivation. It doesn't go in your product, but it's an important motivation, and it's a good asset, for instance, for him. That's important because when you have a motivation, when you have a dream, when you have an emotion, you are going to use it when you are communicating, when you are selling, when you are making communication campaigns, when you are doing marketing or digital campaigns. If you don't use it, you are losing an opportunity. You are losing even money because you are thinking on the shape, but you are not thinking on the core of the communication. And this is the important thing of the core of communication, that it's aligned to the value of the person beneath of it. So this is where we go when we are thinking about not differencing, not separating the product and the person. It also applies when you are talking to a person, when you are doing a job interview, because when we are doing job interviews, we are trying to align ourselves on what the company is trying to look for. But they are trying to look for somebody that is different. They are trying to look for somebody that has something to add on what is requested in the ad. We don't need to be a checklist. We are persons. As a person, we have strengths and we have weaknesses. That's normal, and that's important. And that's one of the most important assets when you are having an interview or having a pitch of your product. Yeah, of course. If you are developing a new technology, a VR technology, you can actually use that. But using that on selling a product is printing your own value, your own essence, and an emotion on that product. Because when you are looking, for instance, for support, for founding, those investors are not looking for only for a well-structured plan. They are looking for a person that can sell that plan, for some idea that is so strong that it cannot be held only by a product. That's the important thing when you are communicating this kind of products. And another example, so you cannot say that I only use in Mint Mobile. It's actually quite recent. I found it this week, and it's beautiful. I mean, this is the Helsinki city brand. And they just did it, and they just made my point so strong that I couldn't help to use this with the, of course, the blessing of the Helsinki city. I hope so. Nobody in the right mind will come to Helsinki in November except you. You badass. Welcome. That's so strong because they are acknowledging their weakness and they know how they are being perceived and they are using it. That's the most important thing. They are using their weaknesses. Most brands wouldn't even dare to use their weaknesses. A lot of city brands and country brands will say, oh no, how can we say that nobody will come here? No, we need to use landscapes. Landscapes are more important, beautiful. We have beautiful landscapes, or let's use people or extreme sports. Yeah, because it's safe, because it is always being done. Try to think about what hasn't been done. And what hasn't been done is use the weaknesses for that. They are doing it. There are a lot of brands doing it. But because it's aligned to their core and their businesses and their values, the value of Helsinki, recognizing that, acknowledging of that, and then going and using that. And know you're a badass, a part of a badass community. That's so powerful for a brand. That's so powerful for a personal brand. If you know that you are, I don't know, messy, that you are kind of not organized, whatever, use that. Think about that as an asset. Think how to make that positive. How can that add value to your own self? When you do that, you can find a way to communicate that, and it becomes a selling point for your personal brand, for your brand material. Then you are going to have a way. Number 5, it's one pretty common on digital marketing. Actually, in personal life. And it's that social media is the answer, even if you don't have a question. That doesn't make any sense. Social media are important. We cannot be outside social media because they are part of the communication process right now. That's one point, I give you that. But for using social media, I will advise you to understand it first. Let's see how can we understand social media. Daniel Murray, it is a really good marketer, he gave us some leads about it. I mean, there is not great channel. There is not perfect channel. Let's start from there. There is no recipe. Not everybody needs to be at Facebook. Not everybody needs to be at LinkedIn. Not everybody needs to be at Instagram or TikTok. Even not everybody needs to have an app. But we are so used to think that it is the first step. It is the need. It is kind of a request for every company, for every new company, but also for a person, that we try to forget that social media is about people behind that social media, and communities. So if we are trying to sell something, if we are trying to sell even ourselves, we need to be aware to whom we are selling and where they are in social media. Because each social media channel has its own goal, has its own material, has its own even dynamics. Let's talk about, for instance, of Facebook. Facebook, it's meant to be for communities. It's meant to be for building communities and strength bonds between people. It was supposed to be. It has become some other monstrosity. But it's meant to be like that. So if you want to build a community, yeah, go to Facebook. But then you go to think, okay, to whom I'm selling or to whom I'm communicating? I might be communicating maybe to people in Latin America, because in Latin America, Facebook is used only by uncles, by my grandma. Young people in Latin America is not that into Facebook. They are actually quitting Facebook. So we have a lot of variants, we have a lot of variables that we have to take into account when going to social media. It's the same, for instance, with Instagram. Instagram is meant to be a visual social network. So if you don't have really good pictures, or now you have the capability to develop videos, then you don't need to be at Instagram, because you don't have either the capability, or maybe your audiences are not that into Instagram. That happens a lot with B2B. Companies that are selling services as a B2B service trying to be in all media channels. They try to be everywhere because they think that being everywhere it's actually the best way to be known. But we can see a lot of B2B companies having like 20 followers on Instagram or 10 followers on Twitter just because they need to be there. And they can actually show off and say, okay, I have Twitter channel, I have an Instagram channel, but they don't have a community over there. So what's the point? They are losing opportunity, they are losing money even sometimes because they have people on it. And resources are quite important. We have two kinds of really, really valuable resources here, and it's time and money. And we need to be efficient with those kind of resources. And the same for people. Some people want to become, for instance, a YouTuber. Becoming a YouTuber, as itself is a really long way and everybody trying to do it. But if you want to be a YouTuber, you need to be focused. You don't need to open a lot of channels just to be known. And if you open a lot of channels, you need to know what it is going to take. It is going to take some time. It is going to take some really stressful moments trying to come up with some content plan. And then you are going to try to find your voice for each one of the social media. It happens to people. It happens to brands. Twitter is microblogging. Twitter is just that ephemerous. Twitter, you're only gonna be there for a moment. The lifelong of a tweet is almost 2.5 minutes. Then you go lost if you are not that great. Even if you are that great, it isn't gonna be more than a couple of hours. It is different, for instance, with YouTube, because YouTube, you can have a video that have a really long life. It can last a couple of months, even years, if you are that good. And for Facebook, for instance, you have posts that can live at least 2 weeks. Then you have to know that as well. How long can live your content and how good you have to be at content to make it last longer. If you cannot do that, you need to know that you need to produce more content. You need to be constant. You need to be there because your audiences are not going to wait for you if they don't know you. Even if they know you, they're not going to wait for you because there are a lot of people talking at the same time. It's so loud out there in social media that you need to find a good voice that can build a community that really needs you, that really helps you to develop, that gives you a feedback, that gives you reaction, that have a lot of engagement. That is the goal for each social media. And let's now go into TikTok. That is the new universe, and they are having their own dynamics over there, their own audiences. Yeah, and brands are going over there, but brands needs to do it smart because it's not just being, it's being there in the way you need to be in TikTok, in the way the audiences want you to be there. And from the meta universe coming, that is the whole evolution of Facebook, we'll be having a lot of different interactions, either for people and for brands. So we need to be aware of that. But if we don't know how it works, then we are going to have that bullshit that you just need to be there. And there are a lot of marketers that are going to be telling people, okay, we know how to be at Meta. Yeah, they know how to be, but they don't know how you need to be at Meta. They don't know how you need to be at TikTok. Because every one of us have different goals and ways to communicate. That's quite important. Find your own recipe. There are no recipes on this. Communication is not about recipes. Communication is about being yourself and being true to your value and to your needs, to your goals. Then we have this beautiful bullshit idea that it is out there and it is being sold like, I don't know, like bread. If everybody is doing it, you need to do it. If somebody did it right, that will work for you. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Because not for doing something great or a brand, either a person, it means that it is a recipe for other person doing it, other brand doing it. And I have one example, one good example. There is a lot of good example of that. But one good example of that is the guys from Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew went into this trend or giving the opportunity to people to name their new beverage. It was easy. It seems a good idea. Everybody was doing it. Food brands were doing it. Even car brands were doing it. Why Mountain Dew wouldn't do it? And they opened a survey. And the survey result wasn't that good because the winner was Hitler did nothing wrong. What do you do with that? It's an open survey. People was just teasing with the brand, but they weren't aware of that when they were planning this. They were just going with the trend. They were just trying so hard to do what was successful for another brand. And that's not the way to be. It works the same with, for instance, let's go to the job interview. In the job interview, if you know somebody that has the same path and the same ambitions of you, and they are doing, I don't know, maybe some research, and they came up with the really good pitch that they get hired with the dream job, it doesn't mean that it is going to work for you. Because the dream job for them is not the same dream job for you. You are not sharing the same dream. It might be alike, but only you know what can you do to get there. Only you know the path you need to go. Only you know the way you need to really realize what you are doing. You need to be aware on your competitors. You need to be aware on your stakeholders. Yeah, you need to know that. But that comparison is only good for knowledge, not for imitation, not for repetition. You need the knowledge, because if you have the knowledge, you have the power, and then you can find your own way of doing things. Yeah, maybe some of the things they are doing are actually interesting for you, but then you will find this ingredient for your recipe, and you are going to come up with something better because it's tailor-made for you. In digital communication, it happens a lot, because a lot of marketers and a lot of agencies sells pre-designed campaigns that work really great. And in B2C, pre-designed campaigns are actually a cool way out to go fast and spend some money on social media. But they don't work the same for each brand. And that's why at the end, people are saying, why I didn't get so good results as the other brand. Okay, I got the followers. Okay, I got the clicks, but I didn't got any purchase, for instance. Or I got some tickets, but I didn't got a community. Yeah, that's why you need to come up with your own recipe, with your own needs, with your own goals. And in the last one, I'm going to take a little bit longer, because this one is kind of unfortunate, but at the same is a hard truth that needs to be said. And it is a bullshit idea that you can have it all. You cannot. Sorry, that's hard, but needs to be said. You can have it all, especially in digital marketing. We as brands are trying to look for the holy triad. This holy triad of being something cheap, being something fast, and being something of high quality. You need to know this. And a lot of times we are not saying this. We are not told about this. So that's why we want the three of them. And we get it. But we need to know that if something is cheap and fast, won't be of high quality. It will be the worst. Of course, it will be cheap and fast, and you will have something that maybe will broke in some days. It's a campaign that maybe will work for some time, and then it's going to be gone. If something is cheap and high quality, it isn't going to be fast. It takes some time. Think about the handwork. You need to take some time to make the perfect piece. You need to really take the time of make it perfect and high quality. And if something is fast and high quality, it won't be cheap. It needs some investment, because when you need something fast and high quality, you will need a lot of more people working on it, more trained people, more professional people, more specialized people that are really into it, that are really into the process of developing a product, of developing a campaign, of developing a training, or leading you through a crisis in communication. So you only can have two. You only can have two of them. And it is important for you to realize that when you are asking for a service on communication and on marketing communication, actually, or when you are trying to come up with an idea, you need to have that on mind, on product development, on service development, and on brand development. But there is a way, a really simple, but it is important to be constant on that, of navigating between the three of them. Yeah, you need to do some sacrifices. That's all about communication. But if you have the time to wait, if you have patience, and you are consistent on your communication, you are going to go through it and kind of find a balance between the three of them. First of all, the time, as we were saying, is a value. and you need to invest it in a smart way. When you go through communication, you need to be as well consistent. Because some of the results, and more if you are doing organic development, not paid development, but organic development is, I mean, you don't have a budget to invest, so you are doing it by yourself. You need to be sure of what you are doing and what is your goal. You need to believe in the recipe you develop. The results will come some time longer. Yeah, it happens. But you can navigate through that and find some investments that are efficient, some time that is not that fast, but at least is competitive, and finally, the highest quality possible. That's what you need. Either communication or product development, either brand development or personal brands. You need to be consistent. When you're consistent, you can find your goal. And when you find your goal, you define the next one. This is a long way. This is a long path. But you need to be aware of that. So we have our 7 bullshit ideas that we can summarize in 3 pieces of advice. The first one, it's important. We have said it a lot. There is no recipe. I mean, it's kind of ironic because for me, communication is like cooking. Communication is having a lot of ingredients and come up with something amazing. But it's not recipe for that. You can have a notion, you can think on what you want to do, but only you will know what is good for your brand, for your personal brand, for your business brand. So there are not recipes, and don't buy on recipes. Don't buy that bullshit recipes that they are selling. Come up with something thought, with something interesting aligned to your value. And that's the second advice. Keep it simple, real and fun if you can. Because you have an emotion to share. You have a value to share. And that emotion must go through the heart. Simple is better. Fun is even better. But real is the best. Be authentic to yourself, to your brand. Don't be posed. Don't copy other brands. Be yourself. Be better than them. Be better than others around you. Because you are as valuable as you can be. You need to be aware of that. And nobody knows your story as you do. Nobody knows the story of your brand as you do. Nobody knows the values of your brand as you do. Communicators, marketers, we only are translators. We only are people that helps you to find the right words to tell a story. But the story is in you. It's in yourself. You need to come up with that. We need to come up with our personal and brand stories and then share it in the right way. And finally, you are not alone. Think about the marathon. You are not alone. We are all in this together. We are all communicating all time. We are all in this together, helping each other. We are trying to communicate in the best way possible, and we are trying to do our best. You are not alone in this. You are not alone in the process of communication and marketing communication. Actually, that's what I do. I help people to be aware that they are in this with people that they are the same, but never will be doing exactly the same that each other. We are unique. And for the end, actually, for those people that are watching, do you recognize this guy? It's Nick Fury. He's from Avengers. He's a really good recruiter. So what do this guy have in common with this guy? Besides the handsomeness and looking amazing with breasts. We both are recruiting. Starting next year, I'm going to be looking for a couple of Avengers to build something amazing in communication here. to build something amazing on communication to help people, to help companies, mostly small companies, to help communicate purposes, to help communicate sustainability, and to help communicate in the proper way. So be aware of what we are doing. Be post on the channels of Go to10, Mind Park, that they opened the doors for this talk, and I'm deeply, deeply thankful of that. And be aware of my personal channels, because coming soon we are going to start For The Look. And if you know somebody that shares the values of proper communication and is talented, it's creative, please let them know that I'll be looking for them. That's all. Tack så mycket. Another Swedish word. So please keep on the story doing, and thank you for being watching this talk. Merry Christmas.
It's a little late, so we can wait a little, see if there's any questions, and otherwise.
Yeah, what was your main inspiration to do this talk?
That's a good question, actually. My main inspiration to this talk was seeing a need. Because I've been here in Sweden for only 4 months, and I've been dedicated to help companies to communicate for almost a year back in my company in Colombia. And my main inspiration for this talk is that I see a lot of misleading when other companies are helping to communicate, and even companies that are not aware at all of the importance of communication. Mostly, for instance, in startup businesses, in digital businesses, and development teams, they are so focused on product development that they forget that they need to communicate. And most of the time, communication comes at the end, or we are not even aware of that. Or even worse, we feel alone and we don't know how to communicate. So we go there and try to buy some recipe. When this will be like training in the gym, you have the answer. You just need to rehearse and strengthen yourself, strengthen your value, be aware of your own value. And seeing that people and companies are not that aware of their own values, it was my first trigger to develop these kind of talks. Excellent.